Pre-reading questions. How far away from Earth is the Moon? What is the force of gravity? How is the Moon different to Earth? Find out 3 other facts about the Moon. Hello, Earth. Kepler Masterman is 15. He was the first child ever born on the Moon. He has been brought up with few luxuries because transport from Earth is expensive. His father is the governor of the Moon and is traveling to Earth for important discussions. Kepler has traveled with his father by moon ferry to the space station where they transferred to an Earth ferry. Now, they are approaching Earth and Kepler has his first close-up view of the world. I craned my neck eagerly and looked through the port. I recognized the narrow spindle of Central America, and then the steely shimmer of the Atlantic lay beneath us. It went on and on. The planet's all water. I gasped. 7/10 of it is, father agreed. But. Oh, wow. It was feeble, but what words could I have for it? A world that was 7/10 water. Why, on Moon, water was harder to get than oxygen, much harder. Breathing was free. You could breathe as deeply and as often as you wished. Now that the hydroponic gardens were going, we didn't have to pay for our oxygen anymore. But water was something else. Every ounce of it was worth its weight in Moon minerals. Dirt was removed by electrostatic filters in the labs and living units. Washing was a luxury and drinking a special delight. There was no free water on Moon. Every ounce we used was extracted in the refinement of the ores we sent down to Earth. And the mining companies charged us for it, every drop. I had grown up thinking water was the most precious stuff in the universe. Now with my own eyes I could see that Earth was covered with the stuff, slopping over with it. We orbited across North Africa and Arabia. From my port I could see the island-spangled blueness of the Indian Ocean. Then the Pacific. I felt suddenly tired and a little sick. What sort of a place was this Earth and what were its people like? Half a world made of water, and yet they had charged us for every single cup. I shut my eyes and turned away from the port. You feeling groggy? Father's voice was sympathetic. They're starting their braking orbit and I guess you'll really notice the weight difference. Don't worry. It'll get worse before it gets better. But it will get better. Just hang on. To the Earth passengers from the space station I suppose the discomforts were minimal. Their apparent weight increased to double and momentarily 3 times their normal weight. I had not realized until this moment what my birthright of 1/6 Earth weight was going to mean when I tried to return home. It was like a barrier separating me from all these other people. Already I weighed 6 times my normal weight. As the braking continued it increased to 12 times, to the weight on my chest. I couldn't breathe. I felt as if my brain was going to burst. When I came back to my senses the enormous pressure had lifted. I felt heavy and tired. I lifted my head and looked blurrily around. We had landed. Kepler's father told him to lie still because he had had a nosebleed. He asked a stewardess to help him. She explained to Kepler that the force of Earth's gravity had made his nose bleed. She got him an ice pack and offered to get him a wheelchair if he couldn't walk. "I'm going to be fine, thanks. It just takes a little practice, that's all." "Of course. Perhaps you'd like to tidy up before you leave." I took her hint and plodded back down the aisle to the washroom. Good grief. I was a disaster area. I took off my jacket. How crudely cut it looked in comparison with the earth fashions I'd seen on the ferry, and what rough material. Then I washed the rest of the blood off my face and combed my hair, what there was of it. It looked like a convict cut by Earth standards, but it would grow. I put on my jacket and plodded down to the exit hatch. I hesitated, my hand on the ramp rail, looking at the crowd of exotically dressed reporters, cameramen and casual bystanders milling around my father. It really was a new world down there at the end of the ramp. Read these sentences. Write T, true, or F, false. 1/7 of the Earth is water. 2. The Atlantic Ocean looked blue and the Indian Ocean looked grey. 3. On the Moon, oxygen was more precious than water. 4. Kepler's weight on the Moon was 1/6 of his weight on Earth. 5. The stewardess got Kepler an ice cream. 6. Kepler went to tidy up in the washroom. 7. He thought his hair was like a convict's. 8. His father was surrounded by reporters, cameramen and millers. Listen and read. Holly, I had an email from Tippy in Thailand yesterday. Jack, really? What did she say? Holly, she's doing a web page about the theater in different countries. She asked me to send her some information about the theater in the UK. Ross, I'll help if you like. I know a bit about the Globe Theatre in London. Holly, okay. Thanks. Tippy said that Usher had sent her lots of emails about the theatre in India, but she's had fewer replies from the other teams. Ross, I've had no emails or messages at all this week. Jack, I've had 2. That's the fewest since we started the project. Ross, I'm sure Sergey could help Usher. The theater's very important in Russia, I think. Holly, yes, and ballet, too. Which reminds me. She sent a few photos of Thai dancers. They're amazing. Well, you could show a little enthusiasm. Ross, sorry, but I don't have the least interest in Thai dancing. Jack, and I have even less. Holly, honestly. You're terrible. Ross, only joking. Let's see the photos. Jack, well. Look at those masks and gold headdresses. They're amazing. Holly, told you so. A couple of. Actually. I'll apparent, approaching, area, ballet, bands, barrier, beneath, birthrights, bleed, blood, groggy, hang on, hesitated, hilarious, hint, honestly, hydroponic, iceback, increase, island spangled, its weight, joking, lifeless, blueness, blurrily, break, breathing, burst, bystanders, casual, central, charge, chest, classical, close up, colorless, combed, comedy, luxury, masks, milling, minerals, minimal, mining, momentarily, ferry, nosebleed, orbited, orchestra, oars, ounce, planet, precious, comparison, convict, crane, crudely, delight, deserted, desolate, disaster, discomforts, dusty, eagerly, earth ferry, eerie, effects, electrostatic, pressure, rail, ramp, refinement, reporters, rough, senses, separating, shim, shimmer, slop, special, spindle, standards, steely, enormous, enthusiasm, exotically, extracted, fashions, fast-moving, feeble, filters, force, gasped, governor, graceful, gravity, grief, step, stewardess, still, stuff, sympathetic, thriller, transfer, transport, universe, vast, washroom, weight, wheelchair, worth,